It's the Legends Lounge right here at the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame. Hi, everybody. I'm Dan Egan, and welcome back to another episode of the Legends Lounge. We're so excited about all the different legends we get to talk to here, and we get to share these awesome stories about these amazing individuals with you. This week, of course, we have another amazing skier, ski racer from the 1980s who really ruled the school. Back in the day, Olympics, World Championships, and of course on the World Cup. But before we get started, let's bring in the Executive Director of the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame, Justin. Justin, how you doing, my man?
Good, Dan Egan. How are we today?
We're doing great, dude. And yeah, man, the Legends Lounge, of course, we talked to all the greats of the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame and the recent to be inducted honored members. And this week is Holly Flanders.
Holly, yep. She's joining the class of 2020 here on the Legends Lounge today. As we've discussed with other interviewees, it's going to be a good discussion. Really looking forward to this one. You know, these people are really patient, Dan, with the whole COVID thing. Their inductions have been postponed and then canceled, and now, you know, possibly combined. And really important, for me to extend, to those members and their fans that, might be watching the Legends Lounge here, that, we're determined to get back to live physical events at the first, possible safe opportunity. I thank all not only the honored members, Holly today, but also, their friends and family. We're determined to get these people, each one of them, to get their moment on the podium or their opportunity to get up on that stage, get their medal, get sworn in, just like you did, man, in Stowe in 2016. So looking forward to today.
Well, I'm really excited for this conversation today with Holly. Of course, Holly's from the East Coast, went to Burke Mountain Academy, and then went on to the world stage. Ladies and gentlemen, Holly Flanders.
Hey, Holly.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great, and congratulations to you for the recent honor of being inducted into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame.
Thank you very much.
Justin's always correcting me because you're going to be inducted officially, but in my heart, you're already in it, and you're the part of the class of 2020. And when I think back to those days of your ski racing and the ski racing team, this was really the heyday, the beginning of the new era for the U.S. ski team, where, the Olympics were here in North America at Lake Placid. Tell us about the Olympics you were in.
I was in the 1980 Olympics in Lake Placid, and actually 1984 also. But it was so special to be in the Olympics in the U.S. in Lake Placid. Really exciting. And of course, I was, younger on the team then. And it was just, all that attention and all the excitement and all the pomp and circumstance. It was so exciting to, represent the U.S. at Lake Placid.
Yeah, the Lake Placid Games in 1980. I mean, it was amazing. And you trained in Vermont at Killington, and then were flown over to Lake Placid? How did that work?
Yes, we were training at Bear Mountain at Killington, and they got a hold of a Huey, and they would fly us back and forth from Lake Placid to Killington to do that training. It was exciting. At one point, I even grabbed hold of the controls of the helicopter. The pilot goes, "Here, take over. This is what you do." And so for a few minutes, I was like, "Woo, don't crash," because we have the whole Olympic ski team in here. But I'm sure the pilot had control also. I have no doubt.
Holly, I know you talk about this often, sort of being an underdog and rising to the top and making it all the way to the U.S. ski team and beyond
Yes.
Participate in the Olympics and World Championships. But I'm wondering, when did the switch flip for you when you realized you were world class?
Of course, that's a process. But I remember one day when I was 16 years old and I was training on a giant slalom course at Pat's Peak, New Hampshire. And I really got the feeling of gaining speed in the turns with my skis and the right movements of my feet and ankles and knees. And of course, my sister, Deb Flanders, was coaching me, and she had, made it to really high levels in the world in downhill racing. And I just had this vision, if I believe that if I choose to do this, I can be one of the best, if not the best in the world.
That's awesome. At Pat's Peak.
Pat's Peak.
That's so fun. And how old were you?
I was 16.
Wow. Awesome. And when did you first head off to Burke Mountain?
I went to Burke Mountain for my senior year in high school. So I was older than the other kids because they, a lot of them started their freshman year. So I had some catching up to do. I wasn't in as good a shape. I wasn't as good a skier, but I caught up, and I did a postgraduate year, and then went to Middlebury for one semester, and then back to Burke for more training.
And what was your first race in Europe, and what did that feel like when you finally stepped onto the World Cup?
Well, actually, I remember my first World Cup downhill was at Heavenly in California. And that was amazing. That was my first World Cup, and you're up against these amazing women. Very intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a whole psychological game. You have to work through how intimidating they are, and how, you have to build yourself up and focus on how good you are. And then from there, I went to Europe, and believe it or not, I can't remember where my first European World Cup was.
And who were some of your ski heroes? Who were you sort of emulating, and who did you want to ski like?
Anna Marie Mosier-Prohl was the top downhiller, and she was so smooth. I would watch videos of her because our coaches would take video of the top racers. And so I would watch videos of her, and then I would imagine myself skiing like that. She was able to hold a low position even when the track was really rough, because of course when it's rough, you want to just open up and be safe. So she was able to just absorb and be smooth and fast through all the turns. And I imagined myself doing that. It really helped.
That's fun. And, to win 3 World Cup races, that's quite an accomplishment. Tell us about the first one.
The first one was in Bad Gastein, Austria in 1982. And of course, I was making my way up the ranks. The season before, I had placed 4th a lot. And then I got a 3rd place. And then to jump to 1st was amazing, because you really have to give it more than you think you can. You have to give it 110 or more percent of what you think you can do. And it's just, you keep trying and you keep trying, even through all the failures. But that was an amazing success for me, because I was really, I saw myself as an underdog, and I just popped in there for the win. So it was amazing.
And what was the difference that day? Was it your line? Was it the skis? Did you just feel more in the moment? How do you remember that?
Well, it was definitely all of that. And the feeling when you're winning, the feeling of your skis just making those turns, and the speed you're gaining off of them, and you're in the zone, you're so focused. So things are kind of happening slowly, but you're handling, of course, in downhill, things come at you so fast. Mm-hmm. But you've trained for it. It's very exciting. It's a feeling like none other.
I've had a lot of downhillers tell me over the years that life really slows down at speed, and sort of starts to happen a little bit in slow-mo. Was your experience?
Yeah, that was being in the zone. If things are coming up at you so fast, they're coming at you, and if you can slow them down and you're so focused, then you can handle them. Of course, you've trained to do that. You can't just jump in there and get in the zone and do that if you haven't trained for it. Your body we used to say the hay's in the barn because we trained for it. We were ready. We had prepared.
I love that. Now, you had, of course, an all-star cast on your U.S. ski team. Of course, Cindy Nelson, Debbie Armstrong, Tamara McKinney, to name a few. What was the atmosphere like on the team, and were you inspired by these teammates?
It was really interesting because right before we started to really come on as a team, our coaches called us together for a team meeting and said, hey, let's pull together as a team. Let's start cheering for each other. Even if you finished your race, if you're sick, if you're tired or whatever, you go to the finish and cheer every team member on and really cheer them on all the time. And of course, before that, we hadn't thought of it that way because skiing is not a team sport. It's an individual sport. But we began to have better results when we pulled together as a team, and our coaches also pulled together. They would go behind closed doors and figure out the plan and, argue about this and that. But by the time they came to us, they had a unified front. So that was really helpful. We were just an organized, cohesive unit. And where there might have been discord before between the girls, because you know how a girls' team can have some discord, we decided to rise above that, pull together, and it made all the difference.
Oh, that's awesome. And with 6 podiums, that's an amazing feat over the course of your career. And we always hear about the World Cup circuit as how hard and icy the courses are. Can you kind of describe for us what that's like? I mean, it's not a powder run, right?
Well, every race is different. And sometimes you'll get those rock hard, really icy, difficult courses. And you better have sharp edges because that makes all the difference. You can't, even if you're the best skier, you can't do it if your edges aren't sharp. You can't make good turns on a really icy course. But sometimes we'd have powder and ruts, and it would really vary. You just had to be ready for whatever came up, whatever happened.
Did your East Coast roots help with the varying terrain and the varying conditions? Did you feel like you had a little bit of an advantage there?
Oh, my East Coast roots definitely helped. I mean, face it, sometimes the snow in New Hampshire and Vermont was so icy you could read a newspaper through it, we used to say. And learning to ski on that really helped. And of course, by the time I got on the ski team, I couldn't powder ski. Of course, we had the pencil sticks back then, and I would just flail around in the powder, whereas the kids from the West could, powder ski really well. But I could ski on the ice. I could ski on the really rough rollerball stuff. I could just, absorb it, and it was great having that background.
We have your Olympic run from 1980 in Lake Placid. Let's watch that.
And wait again.
Now here may be America's best hope for a medal in this event. Holly Flanders, who has come back from injury at a 12th at Megève 3 weeks ago, currently 10th on the World Cup downhill standings, but she's been better than that in the past. One year she finished second, and this course may be suited to her, Cindy.
It's very good for Holly. As you can see up here, she holds a good position. She's quite aerodynamic, and she also is a good glider. Holly has worked hard on her turns, as Maria did, and I would say if Holly skis them well, she has a good chance. Let's see what happens.
26 years old from Deerfield, New Hampshire. Realistically, you have to believe that this is Holly Flanders' last chance for an Olympic medal.
Oh, I think so. I think she's going to try and give it everything she has. She looks a little stiff, though, and, well, a little offline. Let's see how she pulls it off down here.
As you look at Holly Flanders, you begin to appreciate the fluidity of Figini as she came through that top part of the course. That's Figini's intermediate time on the left, and you can see that Flanders is well off of it. She'll have to make up a lot of time in the bottom part.
Well, Holly can do that. She's one of the best gliders on the World Cup, and she has good skis on her feet. She stays low in her position, rides her ski well. Now, let's see. Come on, Holly, get over these bumps.
Cindy Nelson, of course, rooting for her American teammate as she works with us here at the women's downhill. The time on the left, Michaela Figini of Switzerland, and Holly Flanders well off it as she comes under the finish. You look at that time, it helps to impress you more with what Figini did.
Right, Figini must have had a fantastic run. It's
Holly, that's amazing to compete at the Olympics like that. And what do you remember about that run?
I remember the top was steep and turny, and then the bottom was kind of flat, and you had to glide really well. I remember, oh, it's so funny. I remember just one split nanosecond on the flats. I could hear the people cheering. Oh, but the rest of the time, I heard nothing. I was so focused.
Oh, that's incredible. When you look at that footage now and you compare that to the World Cup racing today, what are some of the style differences between Vaughn and yourself in this period of time? What has changed?
Well, of course, the equipment has changed quite a bit. That makes a lot of difference. I would love to try racing downhill with some of the new equipment right now. It'd be fun. I don't know. I think we were skiing on skis with pretty much no side cut. So you really had to use a lot more of your rotational forces to bring them around. So we couldn't be quite as precise. I don't know. It's just a little bit of a different story.
Little follow up on that. Good segue, Dan, if you don't mind too. Being at the Holly, we have the athlete category, we have the non-athlete category. We're inducting people from every possible gamut of the industry, really the impact players. One group that has a lot of advocacy, gets maybe overlooked. We work hard to try to manage and help the nominations are the people behind the scenes, the ski techs, people like Blake Lewis. I was about to ask you, back in the day, when we're talking about the equipment, can you talk a little bit about some of the people you remember that really, tuned up the skis and made an impact on your performance?
Well, the reps were really important because, especially in downhill, your skis have to be fast or you don't have a chance to be in the running. So we had some very dedicated reps who would test out the different grinds. Back then, we were just starting to test out grinding the bases. Of course, now it's done quite a bit. Yeah. And we would do a lot of, we'd set a straight track and time a lot of different pairs of skis to test out the different constructions and the waxes and the grinds.
Yeah, it's so important, the base finishes and the wax and all that, and that's constantly changing. When you think about time slowing down, all of the big events that you were at, what's the strongest memory you have? Is there one event, one run that you can remember almost every part of it?
What run do I remember the most? Seriously, the one that comes to mind is the race, my first race that I won, because it made such an impact on me that I was able to pretty much go from worst to first, go from underdog to winning a World Cup race. And if I could do it, everybody could win at what they're working on, going, starting at the bottom, and you just keep going and you set intentions, and if I can do it, other people can do it too. That was really exciting for me.
Going to Burke Mountain Academy as a senior, you're kind of walking right into the fire there, dealing with kids that have trained and probably skied on the circuit a little bit longer and better coached. And you often describe your coaches calling you a bag of bolts. Tell me about that.
I was in a slalom race and I was 18 and I was uncoordinated. I wasn't a good turner. It's just the way my physiology is or something, but I was just sitting back and my arms were flailing. And later I heard that one of the coaches on the side of the course said, "She skis like a bag of bolts." And it didn't surprise me, but it shows where I was coming from. I was uncoordinated. I wasn't a natural. I had to, build my way up. But what I was natural at was the glide. So, when I learned to turn better and combined it with a good glide, I was able to really get in there.
And what was the mindset for you to overcome? I mean, and to compete so quickly with the world's best, from a bag of bolts to winning a World Cup, really in a matter of years. It wasn't that long.
It was long enough. It seemed like it took a long time for me. The mindset was you focus on the one thing you're doing and you set an intention to be the best at it. And then you keep doing the things that you need to do. You get yourself around the best people. My sister coached me. She was one of the best. And then I went to Burke, where I was in a program with really good kids and coaches. And then there were a few other things I learned along the way. My favorite thing that I learned was one time I was standing at the top of a training course in Solden, Austria. It was a giant slalom timed training course. And for this training camp, I had been, between 1 and 2 seconds behind the top women, the top US skiers, every timed training run. And I hadn't been making strides on the World Cup. I'd kind of reached a plateau, placing around 20th. And I was like, okay, something's got to change. I'm staying around 20th place, and I don't want to stay there. I don't want to stay where I thought was mediocre. So I just kind of stood there and went, And then I started looking around at the mountains, and I realized that in the whole time that I'd been at that training camp, I hadn't really noticed the beauty of the mountains. So I stood there and I went, wow, look at these Alps with the glaciers and the sun gleaming off of them, and the rocks and the jagged peaks. So with that mindset, I pushed off and started skiing down the hill, just free skiing. And the turns felt amazing. Then I went back up and got in the training course. And with that same frame of mind, I skied the course. And it was so much fun. It felt so amazing. And I won the training run. And that kind of brought me up to another level in my skiing, just getting into that mindset.
I love that. It kind of puts you in the environment, in the place, and probably centered you a little bit to perform like that. Yes, it put me in the frame of mind for basically to succeed. And I talked to my son Alex about that a lot when he was competing at sloped style and big air competitions. And he took that to heart, and he started looking out at the beauty and kind of raising his, level of whatever you want to call it, consciousness or whatever, before he would compete, and made a difference for him. Of course, Holly's son, Alex Slopey, is X Game medalist, right? Yes. He won the gold in the big air in 2011. And we have that clip. Should we see it? Proud Mama says yes. Let's see it.
Leader right now, a potential new gold medalist as time is running out. Will he perform the 1800? He certainly doesn't have to, but will he be the consummate showman?
Alex Slopey, another
switch 1440.
And I'll tell you what, Slopey cannot be caught at this point. The clock has run out. Ambule, the highest possible score he can get in is an 88. Slopey, welcome to X Games, my friend.
Yeah. Hi, rookie. Here's your gold medal, just like Bobby last year.
What's up, Park City?
Well, no perfect scores, but hey, saying hello to Park City. We'll see him next week, actually, at the Super Pipe, at the World Freestyle Championships. He is excited as can be. So the final jump of the evening will just be a showboat by Eli.
That's congratulations. Were you there, Holly, for that? Were you there?
I was definitely there, and that was almost more exciting than my own wins. It was amazing, unbelievable.
What did it do? What, when you were watching it? I mean, what were you thinking? You've obviously you watched him do a lot of crazy stuff, I imagine, as throughout his career. But did you realize when you saw it that was the run?
It was kind of funny watching it because I'm a mom and here's my kid doing all these really dangerous things. I actually called my mother on the phone while I was watching it, and she says, "Holly, now you see how you made us feel when you were racing downhill." I'm like, oh my gosh. It was funny, but you kind of have to trust them, to be safe. I mean, to do the best they can. And otherwise, they're taking risks. If nobody takes risks, nothing happens. So it's a hard one. It's a difficult one.
It's a great accomplishment. And I always say that skiing is a generational sport. It was passed on to you and you passed it on down the line. And what a great thing to have so much success, all within one family, multi-generations. It's amazing. Now, of course, you went beyond skiing. You were a big-time mountain biker. Tell us a little bit about that.
It was fun because mountain biking gave me a lot of what I got from skiing. There was the quick reactions, the speed, although by the time I started mountain bike racing, I really wasn't into doing the downhill part of it. I raced cross country for quite a few years, mountain biking. I raced in the pro expert category, and it was just really taking the place of what I used to get from skiing.
And when you think about the sort of the gene, the motivation, the inspiration, what is it that makes you so competitive that you can do it in multiple sports? I mean, what's the drive? What's the thing?
It's funny because I was competitive, but I was competing against myself. I wasn't looking at the other people and saying, I want to beat that person. I want to beat that person. It was always, I was trying to better myself. And the way I am, it was kind of a spiritual journey. Can I make it to the next level? Can I push through these barriers? Can I strengthen myself? What does it take? How do I do it?
I know in your business career and, as a motivational speaker, businesswoman, mom, you do so much. You've had so much success. Now you're writing a new book, 7 Decisions That Determine Your Destiny is sort of the theme of it. Tell us about that. Lay that out for us, and what's that going to be all about?
It's a business memoir. It's the 7 decisions that I made on my journey from being worst to first. And a few years ago, I was mountain biking, of course, and it was beautiful. The leaves were turning colors. And I was thinking to myself, what really matters to me now? And, where do I want to go with my life? And what made sense to me was I want to make a difference. I want to share my wisdom and the things that I've learned. And at this point in my life, I feel like I'm very wise. And I just wanted to share that. So the book tells stories and kind of gives some advice. It's a combination of the two things.
I love that. Wisdom from the race hill, wisdom from the mountain bike, but really wisdom from experience, right? I mean, we are really just made up of our linked experiences. I always say skiing is a series of linked recoveries, as is life. And
Yes.
Is this what you're writing about?
Yes. The 7 decisions that brought me from worst to first are decisions that I saw my son Alex make when he made it to the top. They're decisions that I made in the years after in my parenting and then in my business. And it's kind of like a blueprint to live by in our lives, how to up your game, how to get to the next level, how to be the best you can be, or even the best at what you do.
Justin, I love this conversation, because really here in the Legends Lounge at the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame, it's like every interview ups the game. It's such an elite group of achievers, and you sit there in the hall on a daily basis. Does that rub off on you, my man?
Well, I mean, it's a hall full of, greatness. It's a hall full of people that have seen success. One person that comes to mind, I was actually just thinking as you asked that question, Tom, is and as Holly was talking about her book, and we actually talked about him at the onset of this interview, is Tom Kelly. In his position at the ski team, talking about and also an honored member of the Hall of Fame 2 years ago, inducted into the hall. What you can learn and what he learned from just watching athletes. And I was a hockey athlete, not a skiing athlete, but athletes across the board, especially the elite ones, they all have that common thread. They're all watching everybody else, figuring out really the answer to one question is, how do I get better than that person? And I think we ask ourselves that as parents, as business people, across the whole gamut. So just as you were talking, Dan, it's the same thing I see with all these people that we talk to, because this isn't the Hall of Average, it's the Hall of Fame, the Hall of elite and great, and people really strive, like Holly's book I'm sure talks about, to be the best.
Holly, it's you've achieved so much, and again, congratulations to you're soon to be inducted into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame officially. But when you look back at it all, the ski racing, successful X Game medals with your children, business, what are you most proud of?
I think my greatest achievement, of course, is parenthood. There's something, about having kids and having a family that kind of transcends everything else. But, I've had great achievements in skiing, and I've had achievements in other things since then. But parenting kind of takes the cake.
Absolutely. And congratulations for doing that. That's a lot. And of course, what a great career. You've been such a good friend to me over the years. I've always appreciated every time we've run into each other, and you're always so positive, and you're one of those people that we're always encouraging, and so naturally encouraging. I know that I've felt that in my career. Is that part of your book or your story, is just being positive and encouraging others as well as yourself?
Absolutely. Yes. I'm encouraging people to, focus on one talent and then take the steps to bring it as far as they possibly can. And it's in my nature to encourage. I think it brings everybody up if we all encourage each other.
In the world of COVID, encouragement is definitely something we can all use and need. In the Legends Lounge here at the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame, it's amazing. Holly Flanders with 27 top 10 World Cup finishes, 6 podium finishes, and 3 World Cup wins on the World Cup circuit. Holly, this has been really enjoyed this conversation. It's inspiring. And once again, congratulations.
Thank you very much.